I would just get me up early. I like to lie in, but he made sure I got up, opened the curtains, got me up, made me brush my teeth. It's always done, to be fair.
What you say you're lazy and you didn't brush it?
No, and it was
Nashers.
just getting into a routine. Like, you have to. It was the most important meal of the day, he would say to me, which it is. It's getting a bit of breakfast down you, and just things like that. I mean, it was great. It was great for a player of his calibre and his experience to take me on board and learn me the ropes. And I learned so much in terms of his standards, the way he looked after himself. He was an absolute machine.
And probably Dick Advocaat, Mark, would be telling Arthur Numan, get to know this young, rising star. He already was, but to make sure he could be everything he could be.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about Dick Advocaat, I mean, he signed quality players. He signed players that were ready. You think about it, Arthur Numan, Van Bronckhorst, Amato,
Michael Moles,
Shaboni, Michael Moles. But one thing that Dick did do was he assessed the squad that he was inheriting at Rangers, and they had his card marked on Barry, who had no more than a handful of first team appearances by that point, but clearly identified something in Barry and said, well, I'm going to work with this young Scottish player. I'm going to give him a chance to be part of my squad, but what I need to do is I need basically somebody to manage Barry when I'm not there, to show him the ropes, to guide him along the way, to make sure that he's got the attitude and the application to go with the natural talent. And that was a job that he gave Arthur Numan. So it was deliberate on Dick Advocaat's part. Arthur Numan had worked with Dick. He was his captain at PSV and knew exactly the demands that Dick wanted and what it took to go from a young player with potential to becoming a top class footballer. And that's what Barry managed to do. But as he'll admit himself, he was given plenty of guidance along the way from Arthur and Dick.
Yep, and a few kicks up the backside as well, because a couple of times I got myself in the wrong end of trouble, and it was just basically told straight.
Did he ever come round to the house?
Yeah,
Dick Advocaat?
Yep, and Arthur would obviously take part in that as well. And look, at the time when you're young, you're kind of like, why are they doing this? They're annoying me. But as you get a bit older, you realise that they're doing it to benefit you and your career. And that's what it's certainly done. Both of them were a massive influence on me, made me learn so much, made me grow up a bit quicker than I thought I would. But listen, I've got nothing but good words to say about Arthur. As I said, he was any young player coming through, he set standards, the way he looked after himself, the way he carries himself as well. Just a brilliant person and a brilliant role model.
He's still a great, but even though he's moved back over to Holland, whatever it was 7-8 years ago, he's still a great ambassador for Rangers. And even make sure that all the Dutch contingent, stay involved and have that, proper connection with the football club. Yeah, so
they come over
really good that way. There's a proper affection. It's not staged. There's a genuine affection for Rangers and the supporters from Arthur and Michael Moles and all those guys.
But as you know, Mark, when a player signs from a different country, sometimes they're just over here just to get a decent contract and get away as quickly as possible. But that's one thing that guys like Arthur Numan, they stayed in the country. And you listen to Arthur, he stayed 7 years after he retired, because he loved the place, he took to the place, and of course the Rangers fans took to Arthur because he was a top footballer.
Mark, for young boys and girls in football, and actually in any part of life, there's great lessons there, aren't there? Sometimes the boss or the captain or a senior player or somebody at your work might be tough on you, but if it's for the right reasons, because they see talent in you and they look after you and listen to them, because we think we know everything at 18, 20, whatever.
Paul, you're right. In every walk of life, it doesn't just apply to Barry when a young footballer. It applied to me when I was getting involved in journalism. You were getting involved. You know what I was. And listen, I always say it to my own daughters. That regardless of your intellect, your level of intelligence, what it is you want to do, and what two things that you should do every day in life if you can. That doesn't matter what your level is work hard and be a good person. And if you've got those two in any walk of life, whether it's football, media, journalism, whatever it may be, if you've got those two fundamentals, then you'll give yourself a right good chance in life at whatever it is you want to succeed in.
I mean, great guy off. Mark knows him really well. Great guy off the pitch, but see when he crossed that white line, absolute warrior. And that's when you look and think to yourself, wow. And see if you dropped, as I said, if you gave a couple of passes away, you'd be right on at you in a constructive way. No, like down to be like, listen, I need better for you. And I loved that. I loved when, if I was going through like maybe a 5-minute period within a game where I've hit a couple of slack passes, I'm not doing as well as I should be doing. He was quick, he was straight on you, and you knew right away, right, listen, I need to step this up here. And that's what I loved in it. I kind of brought that on to my kind of way of captaining players. Sometimes they didn't like it, but they knew I'd done it for a reason.
Standard.
Yep, it's not to be a bad person, it's to drive people on. They knew as soon as that game finished, when I came in that dressing room, I would do anything for them. But on that pitch, if somebody's not doing it right, they've got to be told. You've got to drive them on to make sure they hit their standards.
I hope that young people and people of all ages realise this, because sometimes we can be too woke and people think, oh, everything's wrong because somebody's hard on you or whatever. If it's for the right reasons and it's fair, this is life, everyone. And be the best you can be and be good. You're going to be a good person. Try and do your best. But it can't always be, oh, Mark, that was brilliant. I remember when I worked in telly for we used to say, oh, the show was wonderful. I was never wonderful on the telly. We know that. But in the radio, I thought we were more kind of honest with each other. That was good. That wasn't so good. So live in reality. And the reality is, with Arthur Numan, under Dick Advocaat, they could see what Barry eventually became. And because imagine putting, a young Scots player, Barry must have thought, why am I in with the Dutch guy? Someone from abroad rather than one of your pals at Ibrox. But a few years later, Barry is telling us we're getting a lesson today and how you should live.
I get a lesson for Arthur. It was look, the first couple of times I was thinking to myself, what is going on here? You know what I mean? I'm waking up and I'm half sleeping, but he was just getting me into a routine. This is the way that footballers. I'm not saying it's the right way, but he believed in a certain way of doing it. And then I got into that routine, and as I said, I started eating a bit of breakfast in the morning. I started getting up a bit early, getting a bit of routine into my life. And that's what he brought to me. He brought a bit of routine, and he brought standards where I carried on in my football career. And the same as a manager, when you go and you say to players and you're on them, I'm not doing it to be bad, I'm doing it to help you. You know what I mean? To drive standards up a bit. Don't take it personal. I'd do anything for anybody to try and make them better, but sometimes you've got to be told. And I think that's a bit missing nowadays.
Tell Alexa to launch Go Radio or listen on the Go Radio app.